Okay, glad you're along. Hour 3. Lindsey Williams is back. Reverend Williams has been on this program for many years, and I'm not going to go through his story. I'm sure all of you know it. If you don't read his website, just click on his name and go there and read. Avail yourself of the information there. It's quite a story. Actually, it's a great storyline for a film. Maybe somebody will get smart. He was called last spring by someone very high up in the international oil mega industry, the globalist oil cartel, and given some information. And part of that information, as you know if you were listening to him here or perhaps heard him elsewhere or read his materials, was that oil at the time I think was 140 a barrel and headed up, some said, to 200, would go down by the time of the election to $50 a barrel. And of course, Lindsay, we talked off the air, personally, privately. I urged him to go forward with the story, and he did. And there were some chuckles, I'm sure, out there. Oil today, how many weeks after the election? Not even a month. Is at $45.60 a barrel. $45.60 a barrel. It's down $100 a barrel, approximately, since Lindsay first came on this program and made the forecast. Welcome back, Reverend Williams. How are you?
Thank you, Jeff, so very much for letting me be with you tonight, because now that the first prediction of that gentleman who called me the middle of June has come to pass, people are finally beginning to be willing to listen to the rest of what he has to say. And I am so glad, and I beg your audience tonight, please listen to the rest of what you are about to face in the United States of America, because you're going to love it, some of it. And the rest of what I'm going to say tonight, that was his prediction, you're going to be startled, because as one person said to me the other day, they said, "Oh, we didn't believe you when you said it was going to $50 a barrel." And I said, I didn't either. And Jeff, I'll admit to you very readily, when I had the privilege of being on your show on July the 22nd and saying to all of your listening audience that I had been told by a man who knows everything that goes on behind closed doors, 82 years of age, one of the very top of any of the people that I ever knew back in the days when I lived with the elite of the world for 3 years on America's big oil field in northern Alaska. And when this man called me on the phone and said this, I must admit to you, I wondered if it could possibly happen either, because all I were predicting it would go to $200 a barrel, and to come down to $50 a barrel. As one talk show host said to me a while back, he said, "Lindsay, after you went off the air the first time and said it was going to $50 a barrel," he said, "I'm going to have to admit to you, I laughed at you." He said, "I thought you were crazy, and it would never happen." But he said, "I'd allowed you to tell it." Well, he did. And now, of course, whenever I have the privilege of being on your show tonight, Jeff, I'm saying, all right, the first thing that he said has come to pass. It was a total impossibility. It could not happen. There was no way at $147.
No, we were literally in the stranglehold, the chokehold of international oil. No one could foresee a way that could possibly change. And I never laughed at you. We talked, and you remember, we went round and round, and I said, you need to call this man back, get a couple things straight, and then if he says go ahead and go forward with it, we'll do it. And we did. And I pay very close attention to what you say. That was really one of the most remarkable things I've experienced in 15 years of doing this program.
Well, it just proves one thing, Jeff. There positively is a group of people out there who control the world.
You bet.
Everything you have said to your listening audience over these years about the elite, whatever name that a person wants to call them, controllers, power, whatever organization you'd like to attach to them, there positively is a group of people who control the world. They know months and sometimes years in advance everything that they're going to do. And I'm quite sure that this gentleman had no intentions whatsoever of telling me all of these things when he called me to threaten me and say, Chaplain, you're saying too much. You've gone too far. Now, I had not seen this man for 25 years, but I knew him well at Crude, and I knew his position. And I knew when he called me and said, Chaplain, you can't say these things anymore, because if you do, we're going to do this and this and this. And it was not pleasant at all to my family and to me what he said. So I did. I pulled my website, and you know, Jeff, from having a website, how much those cost.
Yeah.
And I took my Energy Non-Crisis DVD off the market immediately. But I don't think this gentleman had any intentions whatsoever of telling me the rest of what he said. It's just that I tried to be polite to him, and I said, may I ask you some questions? And when I did, he did become very friendly, just as he was years ago to me when we spent many hours together, and told me everything that the elite planned to do in this world over the next year to a year and a half. You allowed me the privilege to come on your program and say it, even though it was an impossibility for it to happen.
Yeah.
It just nobody was predicting. In fact, Jeff, just the other day, an individual got in touch with me, and he said, I play the futures. And I said, wonderful. He said, I took you at your word. And he said, whenever you said it was going to $50 a barrel, he said, I dared to play the futures on the downturn instead of continuing to $200 a barrel.
Oh, really?
And he said, Lindsay, I just want you to know that I've made $180,000 since you said that back in July.
Well, that's a nice little story. Interesting. Well, you know, this man apparently just when he opened up to you and began to talk to you about these things, felt like, you know, what the heck? Why not? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It doesn't matter if Lindsay knows, because who can Lindsay tell? I mean, he's not going to get on ABC News. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen no matter what.
Well, I was on ABC News, but I had the privilege of being on Jeff Rent's show. Well, and you cover, in the listening world of those of reality instead of dream world, you probably reach more people than anyone else. In fact, Jeff, I've got to tell you, I don't think I've mentioned this to you before, but after I was on your last show, I had a contact from Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
It's amazing. I wrote them back, answered their questions. I'm waiting on a response from them. But Saudi Arabia, somebody in the top in Saudi Arabia listens to your program, and I'm waiting on a response from them.
Well, that's interesting, and I do know the program is listened to quite keenly all over the world, and world capitals, power centers. There are, because of the wonderful guests that are kind enough to come on the program. It is very well attended. We know who listens, and you're right. It's a real fascinating position for me to be in, to watch this whole thing unfold, as it is for you and for you folks out there as well. We know, and you folks are the most well-informed, the wisest, the most considerate, honestly skeptical when necessary audience in talk radio, and you are way ahead of the curve, and you know it. And I know some of you have written about how frustrating it is trying to help loved ones come along and catch up, even those who really want to, because you're so far ahead of them now. It's really difficult to reach back and bring them up to speed. But it can be done, but it just takes time, and you've got to be patient with them. So go ahead, Lindsay, please.